Don't look at me like that, Pernell. Do you want me to not ask the public affairs one? Speak now.
Well, let's ask it.
Okay.
If it's not working, we can always take it out.
We can.
It's easier to take something out than to add
put
it
it in.
later.
No, agreed.
Have you seen our inverter visa? You kind of sit here and it lights up on the side.
Oh, that's nice.
And what it does is it's showing you where your buckling is. So what it's doing, it's pre-prepping passenger at 8, 9 years old. This is my process now.
Oh,
So
right.
you start from as early as 4 years old. You kind of go in, the parent checks and sees everything is fine, it's locked and secure. So you just have a
How
look
much
and-
does this unit cost, Mo?
This one retails at about 5.1.
That's a lot, eh?
It is.
Have we got this in our online store?
I did present it to.
Hopefully it's
Rhea.
I'm just going to swap this around to the side.
Can you stop breaking the mics?
What's the quality like? Yeah, I can blame
Jeez.
that.
I don't know, I think he's just got a thing for you, Mo.
I did a 30 minute
Yeah.
with SABC2
Yes.
and it didn't record.
Oh, you're
I
joking.
swear.
So I know a story of a guy that did a fashion shoot in the Kalahari. It took them 4 days to get to their destination because they had to stop off and they had to use 4x4s and they had everything in cooler boxes and they had their film in the cooler boxes. It was in the days of film, right? They had their film in the cooler boxes. They had food. They had everything. They get out to the shoot and the guy takes his camera out and he goes, "I don't have any batteries." I know. That's heavy.
It's heavy. I mean, even that one, we did it for half an hour and everything was really good. And then they kind of go, plug out your issue, whatever else. Let's rerun. And you just can't get it.
You can't get back into it. No, once you've done it.
Once you've done it.
When we're done with this, by the way, and I've got the final product, I'm going to send it to you.
Okay.
If you guys can please just use it on your social media. You can put it on your website if you want.
So
You can
I'll
do whatever.
also add that to our Dorel, our holding company, which is basically advocacy in car safety throughout the planet.
Okay, perfect.
So they'll kind of upload it onto their level platforms for usage by other countries too. So other
Yeah.
countries' regulation standards are slightly weaker than ours,
Yes.
and they're trying to get that up and going. Turkey being one example, for
Okay,
example.
excellent.
Each other.
Perfect. Okay, Mornay, are you ready? We ready? Sorry, can you just boost a bit in your mic there? I can't hear you. Hello? Hello?
As we go.
Hello? Okay, there I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, you said
I
it
think
was
if we can
starting
just
at
close the
11.
door.
He
Yeah,
kept
he
on-
would.
He was, I'm going to be done now, but we're just waiting for we're going
He
to start
can't-
now, but we're waiting for
He can't take responsibility for anything.
I kept on saying that you're in some boardroom meeting and he doesn't know if he did get hold of you.
Okay.
No, I was waiting for the call to say you guys were ready. I was waiting for you.
Okay, the big one is the program cam, right? Okay, perfect. Okay? Yep, we all ready? Everybody happy?
I guess so.
Hello and welcome to AA Connect. AA Connect is a podcast you can either view or listen to and is produced by the Automobile Association of South Africa. My name is Leighton Beard and in these podcasts we will discuss a range of topics and issues relevant to mobility in South Africa, Africa and the rest of the world and inform you of the trends and debates within this sector. In our world, mobility covers a lot of ground. It talks to automotive issues, transport issues affecting motorists, cyclists and pedestrians, public transport, road infrastructure and legal issues which affect everyone and anyone on any type of road in our country. Through these podcasts, we hope to give you some insights into what is happening in the world of transport and mobility and introduce you to some of the relevant role players in this sector. The AA is available on a range of platforms and through various social media. If at any time you want to get in touch with us, view any of this and other material we have produced, please visit one of the sites for more information, and that information is on screen at the moment. In this edition, I'm very pleased to say that we are joined in our studio by Mohammed Kaka, the National Sales Director of Multichoice in South Africa, and Philip Pernell, Executive of PR and Communication at the Automobile Association. Welcome to you both. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thanks, Leighton.
So, Mo, I mean, the theme of our discussion today really is going to focus on child safety. And we talk about child restraint systems, and we have a child restraint system here, and booster seats, but most people just know them as car seats or child seats, right?
Correct.
And we have a lot of information about that, but I don't think it always gets to the public of South Africa, right?
No, agreed. I think filtering down the information is something that needs to be ongoing too. And there needs to be a lot of awareness and importance from a parent's perspective as to understand how should I be protecting my child in a car.
Exactly. And I mean, Philip, we talk about this quite a lot in our office in the Public Affairs Division. Let's just first of all say, I mean, what does the Public Affairs Division at the AA actually do? I mean, I work in it, but I'm not always sure that you're happy with that I know everything.
There for the benefit of all road users, and the Public Affairs Division drive drivers and safer for passengers.
Correct. And one of the big things that we focus on at the AA, 7% of people that should be using car seats actually use them. The other 93% don't use them. I mean, that's a big problem for us, right?
Yeah, there are a couple of fundamentals in that argument, and the stats are correct. It's not just a matter of people using them or not using them, though. It goes beyond that to, are they using the correct child restraints?
Right.
Do they know how to use the child restraints? A number of these things are a lot more complex to put together than they look on paper.
Right.
And if they're not put in properly, they can be dangerous.
They can be
Are they
dangerous.
using very old child restraints?
Right.
Very old child restraint that's been handed down through half a dozen children is going to not be as safe as a new one.
Right.
So there's a lot of complexity to what people need to familiarize themselves with. And if they take just a few minutes, they will make their children much safer in their cars.
Correct. So we'll get to the issue, and I know Mo's quite passionate about this issue of doing research before you actually buy a child restraint. Just in terms of the legislation, Philip, just to give some context to the discussion we're having, there is legislation in South Africa that governs the use of child restraint systems and car seats. And I think from both our perspectives, Mo, from yours and from the AA's, we're very happy that there is legislation in place. It indicates that government has acknowledged a need to have some sort of law that governs this. But the law at the moment, Philip, is that your child must be 3 years old and under to be in a child restraint system. That doesn't always work for us, right?
Well, to clarify, the law says that if they are 3 years or younger, they must be in a child restraint system. But the problem is that anybody under the height of 1.3 meters is the wrong size and shape to be using a full-size seatbelt system in a car.
Right.
I think Mo's probably much better positioned to explain why that's important and how that impacts child safety.
Most definitely. So pretty much it's just, even if you looked at it from an adult perspective, when you sit in a car, perfect placement for a seatbelt requires that the seatbelt doesn't cut across your neck.
Right.
It actually sits level on your shoulder. And when it's actually going in and buckled up, it doesn't sit across your abdomen. It sits on either side of your hip. Now, if I'd actually had to position myself and look at where car seat belts normally start from, and that's where the 1.3 meter comes in. So it starts from 1.3 meter upward, where that positioning of the seat belt's correct. You normally do adjustments with your actual seat if you're a bit of shorter, or move lower down if you're taller to make sure you've got a good seat belt placement.
Yeah.
Now, for under 1.3 meters, no vehicle, especially in the back seats, don't do height adjustments for these type of
Okay, I'm with you.
So ideally, when a child is sitting, or somebody under 1.3 meters sitting, you have a seatbelt cutting across the neck and sitting across an abdomen. In the case of a collision or frontal impact, you kind of have this effect, and that causes head, neck, and spinal injuries, or severe abdominal ruptures and spinal impact. So the positioning of the seatbelt then eventually takes people from taking the seatbelt and running it behind the kid.
Yes.
Which then basically leaves them completely exposed when moving forward. So under 1.3 meters in height, vehicle manufacturers have started off as at the base point. Anybody under 1.3 meters in height needs to get a child restraint.
Yes.
Effectively.
I mean, just having a look, this is something more that people would call almost a booster seat. Just explain to me why something like this is really important to have if you're a parent in a vehicle.
Okay, so I think the first question a lot of parents don't understand is, up until what point am I going to be having a car chair in my life? So the 3-year category, legislation, understanding that my child needs a place to be, especially if I'm driving by myself, people kind of get that point about that. But a lot of people or parents or drivers don't realize everybody over 4 years is where we're actually missing out on the fact, hey, they still need a child restraint. It's often
So it's from baby and then maybe just in that little gap in between and then getting a little bit older.
Yeah, so people think that this is actually a baby car chair. But this is catering for somebody from 4 years up until about 9 years.
Okay, wow.
And that's the category that a lot of people are eliminating and kind of going, oh, well, I don't need a baby car chair. It's not a baby car chair. It's a child restraint to cater for your 4-year-old to 9-year-old. Then there's also various ways of it working in terms of ISOFIX, a normal seatbelt, but we'll kind of get into that a little bit later.
Tell me a little bit about ISOFIX. I mean, I think, one of the things that I think a lot of people get very nervous about is they walk into a retail outlet and they don't have access to a Mo who's going to stand there next to them helping them buy this unit, and they see words such as ISOFIX on a product, and they go, well, what the heck is that? So what exactly, just clarify for us, what exactly is ISOFIX?
So I think indeed you're right. It's a common thing. People go, what is ISOFIX? Even when purchasing a car, you'll find that that's an optional extra, and people go, what is an ISOFIX?
Yeah.
Effectively, ISOFIX is a universal standard width of anchorage points in a vehicle that caters specifically for car chairs. And why has that become the norm? Why has standards pushed for that type of thing? In vehicles, you find different seat belts for different vehicles, different lengths. They are minimum lengths, but you find that the complexity around having these car chairs installed in the car with the seat belts sometimes does cause.
Can you show us on this exactly what the ISOFIX looks like?
Sorry, let's start again quickly. Sorry.
Start what again?
I think I just want to pick up a little bit because your mic.
Oh shit.
Do
Do you want to
Now
start
you
the whole
remember
thing
what
or
you said.
just
I
the
can't.
section?
We'll chat to him and see what he thinks now.
Sorry.
Sorry, can I just see your box quickly? Sorry.
Oh, good God.
Where is it?
You want to take it from the top, right? Sorry, guys. Well, best we sort that out now. Sorry, Mo.
No, it's fine.
Working?
Such an asshole.
Technology at its best.
Okay. Monet says it was flowing well. I mean, I was happy with that. Are you guys happy with it?
Are you okay with that, Philip?
I wasn't paying attention.
No, this is what I put up with every flippin' day.
He's in the same office space as you.
Luckily, he's not, because I work from home now.
How long have you guys been together?
Too long.
Fucking long,
I can imagine. At the point, when's it going to come to a split now?
When are you guys needing to hire a PR guy?
Stop on the screen there.
Because I'll give him a great recommendation. If you want.
From the looks of things,
In
it looks
writing.
like I'll be able to help you to get rid of him. So, yeah.
Done.
Test.
Because you said we'd.
He's a very patient man.
So why didn't you tell me you were ready? Message.
I like the idea of talking about ISOFIX. Use a specific car seat in with ISOFIX. You must make sure that your vehicle has it.
And that also accelerates the price points where a lot of ISOFIX car chairs are a lot more expensive. So hence people go, oh, well, I can't afford one. But know that the seatbelt is there. It's just the difference between the ISOFIX and the seatbelt is human error. That's what we really are mentioning there.
And I definitely want, I think when I talk about this, Mo, if you can maybe take it off and just pass it to Phil, we can put it down there next to you.
Yeah.
And I can put this one up, because I'd like to talk about that issue of the rear-facing, car seats and baby seats, and the fact that you have to disable
Front airbag.
the airbags, because I don't think a lot of people do that. Is that bad for the baby?
Very,
Oh, really, is it?
very.
Yeah.
So the reason that we actually keep them rearward facing as opposed to forward facing is to deal with whiplash factors. Head, neck, and spine are not able to cope with it up until 15 months, or minimum of 15 months.
So it is, the baby will suffer damage if the airbag deploys.
Serious, probably
Really,
fatal.
eh?
But
Probably
if you're
fatal.
facing the wrong way to start with,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes. No, but I mean,
But
if you
yeah, the airbag will harm the baby. Yeah.
It's good. The forces that push up against that car chip create the whiplash effect on that.
And you've seen the damage to adults.
Okay, Monet, are you happy with that? Testing 1, 2, Monet. Okay, so you're happy with that, right? Okay,
He's not listening.
Are we good here, Monet?
okay, and Philip is good as well, unfortunately.
I'm always good. I'm not a drama queen like
So,
you.
so Philip has been the person giving you the least shit in terms of his,
Who's mine?
at least for today, he says.
I just come in and get the job done. Some people like to call themselves the talent.
Is it me now? Oh, wow, you guys.
Can I come back tomorrow, guys?
Yeah, we should have actually been the ones to walk in last later. Is it all good?
Okay, everything's working. Can we?
Do you want me to just do this without you two?
I
'Cause
think it
clearly.
seems like it's probably going to work.
What's wrong with that thing? Okay, you guys happy? Okay, something bad crackled now, and they're trying to locate the problem. Mo,
Am I good here?
I
Am I
think think you good, Mo. I can hear you. Just Philip, you good as well?
Yeah, I'm always good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your patience, Mo.
Hey, I've got all day for this type of thing, eh? It's
Okay.
He doesn't need to sell anything, don't worry.
no, not at all.
He doesn't have targets or anything, so
Nothing.
not
Nothing on
impacting
that
his
line.
life in any way.
Not at all.
The fact that he doesn't hit his target and doesn't get paid end of the month,
Yeah,
I wouldn't feel bad at all.
it might just explain the fact that I lose another 2
Oh,
kilos
God.
by the next time you see me. Hey,
Exactly.
Exciting.
who is Monet? I haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
No.
Guy that tells you
Monet's making the point that we don't want any crack or later, so they just want to make sure about these units now. But it seems like everything seems to be fine now, Monet.
Is not maybe Leighton's voice that's
I think it could be Leighton's voice that's the problem.
high frequency pitch.
Yes. I think you're right, Monet. Okay.
High maintenance.
Okay, Mo, can you just do me a favor? Can you just lean forward to this? I just want to make sure that when you do, okay, that doesn't have any issues, right? Good.
That's
Okay. Okay, I got movement.
I'm just going to make sure I maintain that.
Yeah, Philip can't hear you because he's not connected, eh?
Oh.
I will
Yeah.
not relay that message.
Do you want
Well,
to?
no, Philip is not that type of. He's actually not a bad oak. I don't know why you're saying that.
Yes, he is. He's a complete dick.
If you want to know who Philip is about, just don't spend enough time with Leighton.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Are we ready to go?
Just wondering, do you want to angle this slightly, Leighton?
Huh?
Do you want to angle this slightly? Because if you're going to show the isofix, it's going to be quite a big turnaround.
No.
to
We're
get
gonna
to the back.
no. We want to keep it like that because we're gonna angle it when he talks about.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that's quite a big turnaround. It's
No,
less
that's fine.
turning around.
That's fine.
I'm going to go here. Is that fine? Put that camera. That'll be fine, eh?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
I have no idea what the cameras are showing. I can't see.
He can.
I don't care what he can do.
He's been given that.
Okay, are we ready?
rights to everything.
Jeez, thinks he's important now.
I think so.
He's a dick.
No, just turn off the
Can I have
Okay.
one quick sip? Sorry.
Too bad, yeah.
To the guests.
There we go. He gets the opportunity.
They're waiting for you to be less disruptive,
Yeah.
Philip.
He
Who,
gets
me?
a chance to
Yes.
check what he looks like, what he's.
Never.
And with us, we
Okay,
know-
here we
don't
go.
have
We
that.
haven't got a clue.
Okay, standing by. Hello and welcome to AA Connect. AA Connect is a podcast you can either view or listen to and is produced by the Automobile Association of South Africa. My name is Leighton Beard, and in these podcasts we will discuss a range of topics and issues relevant to mobility in South Africa and the rest of the world, and inform you of the trends and debates within this sector. In our world, mobility covers a lot of ground. It talks to automotive issues, transport issues affecting motorists, cyclists and pedestrians, public transport, road infrastructure and legal issues which affect everyone and anyone who is on any type of road in our country. Through these podcasts, we hope to give you some insights into what is happening in the world of transport and mobility and introduce you to some of the relevant role players in this sector. The AA is available on a range of platforms and through various social media. If at any time you would like to get in touch with us, view any of this and other material we have produced, please visit one of these sites for more information. All of these sites are on screen now and you can access them all. In this edition, we have joined, 3, 2, 1. In this edition, we joined in studio by Mohammed Kaka, the National Sales Director of Maxi Cozy South Africa, and Philip Purnell, the Executive of PR and Communication at the Automobile Association of South Africa. Gentlemen, thank you very much and good to be with you today.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Leighton.
So, child safety is a very important topic in the space that we play in, Philip, in terms of the things that we promote in our Public Affairs Division. Maybe you can just kick us off and tell us what exactly does the Public Affairs Division at the AA do?
Well, to start at the beginning, the Automobile Association is a not-for-profit corporation. We're a club funded by the members for the benefit of all road users.
Right.
And the benefit of all road users includes road safety
Mm-hmm.
and advocacy. So we, specific to this conversation, we focus a lot of our energies on making sure that motorists are safer, that they're getting a fair deal from the government, but also that pedestrians are safer on the road, cyclists are safer on the road, and passengers, very much specifically child passengers, the most vulnerable in the car,
Right.
that we can educate the public and we can advocate for safer environments for all of them.
And advocating for safer passengers in a vehicle for children, Mo, I mean, that's very important. In a country like South Africa, we do have laws that govern the use of child restraint systems, but having a legal framework is important, right?
Most definitely. I think it kind of sets a benchmark as to where or what it is that people should be looking at.
Right.
And provides an avenue or opportunity for people to understand that there is a concern and how are we going to address the concerns, and then we deal with those concerns from our side. So that is there. A little bit of a flaw in what we're saying in terms of currently what our regulation standard says. And I think maybe Philip could also expand on that a little bit to tell us what it is exactly, what is being catered for.
I mean, I think, Philip, this is something that we discuss quite often. We have a law in South Africa that talks about the use of child restraint systems and car seats in a vehicle. But currently the law says that...
I think fundamentally your first problem is there's a lack of law enforcement.
Right.
Our research suggests that between 7 and 10% of young people who should be in child restraints are not. And beyond that, an age limit is fairly irrelevant.
Right.
The question that we have is not about age, it's about size. Cars are not designed for children, they're designed for adults. And that is why having a child in a safety restraint is very important. In fact, no, it is critical for the safety of that child. I think
we need to have child restraint systems in them, but to Philip's point, not everybody is using a child restraint system.
Yeah, and I think mentioning again is 9 out of 10 children that should be in a child restraint are not actually in the correct child restraint or not in a child restraint, or there's no understanding as to what a parent should be doing from a child restraint point of view.
Right.
And again, it's the whole manufacture of a vehicle. Does a vehicle seat belt under 1.3 meters in height is not catered for in terms of safety. So having a vehicle that's got high ratings, it's one of the safest vehicles on the road. But if you have your seat belt does not do enough to prevent you from either being ejected in a collision or being seriously hurt. So parents kind of have the understanding that my kids kind of reach the 3.5, 4-year-old category. I can go into my car. I've got a good, safe car. The safety ratings are good.
Yeah.
And I can put my child down. What effectively happens is that a seat belt then cuts across the neck of the actual child.
Yeah.
And rests on the abdomen area.
Yes.
Right? We also have put the seat belt out to the back. So that too also causes a problem, causes a challenge in terms of that. So effectively what we want to kind of get to is what should be done for a child between 4 and 9 years old.
Yeah.
Most parents would probably look at something under 3 years old and say, for my baby, yes, I can cater. But 4 to 9 is very important.
Now, I mean, we've got an example.
Mo, can I just clarify?
Yeah.
So we're saying that if the most of the strongest bones in the body, the shoulder.
That would be the same for adult passengers.
Exactly. And it's important that parents understand this.
Yes.
I mean, so you could be driving a vehicle that has a 4 or 5-star safety rating, but not have your child in a proper child restraint at 64 kilometers an hour. Right.
But they're just not adequately restrained to deal with in relation to their height.
Yes. It brings me to a very important topic, Mo. Know what they're looking for, and is there sufficient assistance when they go into these stores to kind of help them make that decision and educate them into how they should be buying?
So as best as possible, as producers of cartridges and stuff, we do run technical programs where we can explain to the sales staff by asking parents certain questions in order to guide them in that. But I think parents themselves need to do a lot more research. I think if we understand that if 9 out of 10 kids in South Africa that should be in a child restraint, and research is important, there's loads of research on child passenger safety globally,
yes,
where they're telling you what happens in a collision, understanding a collision, understanding height. There's also independent safety ratings tests being done on cartridges. It tells you what should be a good cartridge for you and what are the differences.
I mean, to Mo's point, if I'm a parent of a young baby or a young toddler, and that information if I came to the AA.
So the AA, the Automobile Association, is in a very fortunate position. We have organizations we deal with, the ADAC in Germany and PESRI in Latin America.
Correct.
Both undertake testing of child restraint systems that site. Anybody can go there, look up the manufacturer, look up the model, items they're going to look at in a retail store.
Focus very much on the car seats that are available in South Africa. And because these tests are done annually, we are able to update them on our website as well. So if you are watching this and you'd like to get, just a final one on that issue, Philip, when we crash test the vehicles in our hashtag Safer Cars for Africa program, we get a rating for the safety of the vehicle, of the front passengers, in other words, the driver and the front passenger, but there is also a rating for the children in the back, which is kind of critical, right?
That is correct. It is very important. The manufacturers determine which car seat, which child restraint best suits.
NCAP will say to Toyota, we test
crash is monitored through some very sophisticated car is.
Okay. So you're a new parent, you've got to get that vehicle. So you're looking at a safer vehicle. You've got a vehicle that's got a 4-star safety rating. It's got a 4-star rating for the back passengers. So you're happy that in that collision the car is going to be good. Then you look and see what car seat was used in that, because it is noted on the crash test results. And you maybe look for something similar or with the same rating by visiting the AA and getting those results, right? So that's part of the research, Mo, that you're talking about in terms of being a responsible parent, a responsible adult.
Most definitely an existing vehicle. And there are a range of different manufacturers.
Yes.
So what we need to ideally do and identify is that, does this child restraint work effectively in my vehicle? There are what we call fit lists, for example, where we work together with the vehicle manufacturer. So we have technology called ISOFIX, which we'll go a little bit into, and all cars come with seat belts. So we need to establish whether the matching of our car to your vehicle
is, before you get a vehicle, whether it's a new vehicle or a second-hand vehicle, is match the vehicle to your needs. So you're not going to go out and buy yourself a Bentley if what you're really looking for is a little runaround. We can't all drive Bentleys like Philip does. So you're looking for that vehicle that suits your needs. But if you've got children, you equally need to look at what comes with that vehicle and how it's going to meet your needs in terms of putting a car seat in it.
Definitely. So in terms of looking at a car chair, there are a couple of things. There are 3 very important categories that we take into consideration.
Right.
One being how old your child is.
Okay.
Because child restraints have different groupings.
Yes.
And that relates to how a child faces in a vehicle.
Right.
And their physiological capabilities of dealing with frontal or side impact or back impact.
Good.
So one is very important to get across that. Number 2 is what we call installation mediums. So every vehicle is equipped with a 3-point safety belt, and that's become a standard for most vehicle manufacturers.
Right.
Some of them are now providing what we call ISOFIX.
Okay.
And that's becoming the new norm.
Right.
There's a reason behind the ISOFIX. It's making our child restraints, or making child restraints in general globally, more capable of working in a better environment within the car.
Right.
And we still, obviously, depending on what car you have to find, it's going to be based on your installation medium.
Right.
And finally, typically, like we're saying from a lifestyle perspective, do I have an SUV? What is it? What am I going to be doing with it? Is it a small car? What's the restraints in terms of space in the car? Where do the passengers sit? Sometimes you've got a two-door vehicle, you've got your child in the front. Then does frontal airbags come into play?
Exactly.
So, like we will keep reiterating about the fact, research it, just like you're kind of looking at your car and go,
exactly.
Where else do I go to from here?
So you raise a very interesting point. I mean, let's talk a little bit about ISOFIX. I was in a baby store the other day with my wife buying a present for a friend who's having a baby, and because my children are obviously very old, if you notice the grade. But I felt very empowered because somebody was looking to buy a child restraint system, and they saw ISOFIX on the box. They didn't really know what it meant. And I was able to give them some advice and tell them, the first question I asked is, do you have a vehicle that has ISOFIX? Because if you don't, then there's no point in getting ISOFIX. But ISOFIX really is, as you said earlier, the benchmark in terms of safety for child restraint systems. What exactly is ISOFIX?
Okay, so just taking you a little bit back, from 2002, an international standard came about with ISOFIX brackets being mounted to vehicles.
Right.
And the reason behind that is that a normal safety belt in a car could differ between different vehicles.
Right.
The arrangement of the car, where the seat belts are locked. Also, with research, they found that people having to install car seats with seat belt found it a little bit more complex at point.
Right.
And we have what they were referring to as human error.
Yes.
So when installing the car chair, the seat belt may have not been put through its correct guides.
Yes.
ISOFIX was then further developed together with vehicle manufacturers to say, exclusively for the use of child restraints.
Okay.
There's 2 parts to it. One, it's a more fixed anchorage point system.
Yes.
Provides better safety in that aspect, and most importantly, removes human error.
Yes.
it seems as though this ISOFIX is something big, and where do you locate it in your vehicle? There are literally 2 brackets that are mounted to the chassis of your vehicle in such a way that they can deal with the forces that are going to be utilized.
If it says ISOFIX on the seat and it says ISOFIX on the car, the 2 should work together, yes or no?
Correct. So there's a standard in those ISOFIX brackets in play.
2 very critical things that I think people need to do. First of all, on the back seat of that vehicle will be a little piece of cloth that's been sewn into the seat that says ISOFIX. So that's the obvious way that you can check. And please, for goodness sakes, if you are a vehicle owner, read the manual and go to the section on safety, and there will be a section there saying this car has ISOFIX, and if it doesn't say that, then chances are that it doesn't have ISOFIX, right?
Most definitely.
So ISOFIX in a vehicle, on the back seat, in between the seats at the bottom, there is something that's mounted to the chassis of the vehicle, and then you buy the car seat and then just explain how that fits into it.
Okay, so if this were the backrest of the actual vehicle,
Right.
that would be the seating area, and like you've clearly indicated, you'll kind of find them meeting at the center here.
Right.
Okay, it's 2 little metal brackets that sit here. They're predetermined in terms of width. You can get a simple technique of extending a rail that basically locks into that particular
Right.
bracket. And what it's doing, it's affixing the car chair now and making part of the structure or the vehicle structure's chassis.
Exactly.
And it's fairly simple. There are also 2 different types of ISOFIX.
Right.
One being, or all vehicles need to have the bottom end ISOFIX, which are the 2 here.
Yes.
Newer vehicles are coming out with what they refer to as top tether.
Yes.
A top tether ISOFIX bracket is generally located under the rear or behind the car chair, so depending if you've got a dashboard, support leg is not then required for a particular car chair.
Okay, and we'll get to the support leg. I've seen some child restraint systems that have ISOFIX that have a belt that goes from the top, the neck area, and that extends into the boot of the vehicle and clips on the back there. So just kind of providing that extra bit. Some of the cars that we've tested being done there, and they've got a warehouse full of the child restraint systems that they've tested. And some of the earlier models of the child restraint systems actually make you quite scared. I mean, of that system to the actual vehicle. You've got the child in the child seat with a safety belt. I mean, you've got this in your vehicle, the child gets put into it, and then just explain the seat belt is going to come around the top. And you were saying earlier that these lights will light up at the bottom here, enabling the child to put the seat belt on.
Okay, so when we're actually looking at the car seat belt, what we're looking at in terms of a booster seat, ideally what we have is a child, typically for this car chair, who's probably around 4 years old.
Right.
Doesn't require a 5-point safety harness to hold him like you do in traditional baby chairs. And it's going to now require that the seat belt is correctly adjusted. So child restraints in this category will adjust according to your child's height.
Beautiful.
So if we needed to adjust to a 4-year-old, we simply do that there. And I'm going to show you more or less a routing guide of where the seat belt actually fits in. So effectively all you're doing is the seat belt is now going into a routing guide. And by adjusting the headrest, that will always be in line with the shoulder based on your child's height. Furthermore, on either side, it's correctly guided the seatbelt to the correct placement on the hip, and is not allowing the seatbelt to sit up here.
Beautiful.
So what this is effectively doing is your child's growing up in terms of height or whatever their capabilities in terms of height, is giving a proper correct placement. On newer models like this, what's also been trying to do is trying to advocate at an early age for kids to kind of buckle themselves up all the way through.
Because the minute the child gets out of this, he's going to get into your car, and he's also, instinctively going to take the seatbelt and put them on, because they've been doing it for so long as a child, as a toddler, growing up in one of these things, right?
Definitely. And with that, we kind of have newer models where you kind of sit here, darker corners in the car. We generally find parents finding it a little bit difficult, kids not finding buckles. So you have lighting on the side that kind of guides you to where you. So it makes it basically as simple as possible for you to buckle.
And for the driver of that vehicle, it's important to know that there's no activity behind. There's no kids shouting and screaming, hitting each other or moving about, causing a distraction. The child can sit in this with a sippy cup. They can be calm and they are anchored in that vehicle, just as the driver and the front passenger are anchored in that vehicle.
Oh, definitely. And I think we've had some discussion before where kids kind of sit down there and they want to look out at the window.
Yes.
And the easiest way to do it is to actually have a good safe trip along
Sure.
as well. And ensuring drivers are also not distracted, because everything's there, it's capable, and now
Perfect.
we're off to go.
Just if we can have a look at this other car seat that you brought, Mo, if you could just take that one out of the picture. I mean, this is a very important one that we've got. Also has Isofix, but we spoke earlier about a leg support. Now this doesn't have it. Just explain what the leg support does when you've got Isofix in. It's basically a thing that comes from the front of the car seat and goes into the footwell of the car, right?
Correct. So I'm kind of going to use myself to explain that. In a frontal collision or me facing or driving this way, okay, my legs provide adequate stability to prevent me from going forward.
Right.
So a support leg in the front of a car chair, what it actually does is it reduces the forces of impact going forward facing.
Right, right.
So support legs or the top teth at the top actually reduces the ability of the car chair to move in a collision and holds adequately.
Right.
So in cases like car chairs like these, and we kind of, because we're so used to selling car chairs, we kind of used to always doing it in the right direction. So on that car chair, it's a frontal facing car chair. But here we're referring to a rearward facing car chair.
And this would go in the front seat.
In the front seat of a vehicle, if
A baby seat or child seat for my baby facing, and I can see my little one while I'm driving, but I don't actually understand that I've got it, safe for the child.
correct. So just to kind of get to why it is so important is that direction of travel for children under 15 months in terms of in terms of research clearly indicates that a child cannot be able or is not capable of dealing with frontal collision
Right,
or dealing with whiplash.
right.
Why is that? Your child's head is heavier than the rest of the body up until 15 months.
Okay.
If you kind of come to a point where your child starts walking, it indicates that the child's neck, head, and spine are not strong enough to deal with the whiplash.
Okay.
Why is it so? You're capped, you're restrained, and your neck does this.
Okay.
So rearward facing child seats can never have an airbag in front of them,
Okay.
indicating to you kind of with the car chair. If this car chair was facing forward, I had a collision, this child's head would pretty much flop forward.
Right.
We want to eliminate that, so we effectively take them and run them rearward.
Okay.
Consider in a collision that an airbag is going to actually come out of the dashboard and now do the same.
Yes.
It would hit the child in that direction. So
And
it has severe impact.
But this car seat does say deactivate the airbag, right?
Clearly.
I mean, it's clearly marked on there, deactivate the airbag.
Correct.
So the message for any parent who's going to use this thing is, A, do your research. B, make sure you've got it fit for purpose for your vehicle. And if you're going to have a rear-facing airbag, please deactivate at least the front passenger and perhaps even the curtain airbags that go in it as well.
Ideally,
Right.
yes.
Okay. We spoke earlier about the legislation around these things. I mean, all three of us are parents and we want to be responsible adults. Why do you think it is, Mo, that so many people aren't using child restraint systems?
There are a number. Firstly, I think, and I'm going to start off by saying that, do people really understand the consequences of a child under 1.3 not being a child restraint?
Right.
As also the affordability aspect.
Yes.
Where people go, oh, I've got to now buy an additional child restraint to keep that there. So the conscious behavior is the starting point, where we need to understand safety.
Right.
But car chair safety has not been taken seriously.
And this is something that you and I have spoken about as well in the past, Phil. I mean, if you are a parent whose child is out of the car seat, don't throw the car seat away. Keep that car seat, maybe give it to an organization that is going to recycle it in some way and let somebody else make use of it. I mean, Mo, that's something that you're happy, people using those second-hand car seats?
Most definitely, but as with any safety item, typically tires, wear and tear is really essential.
Right.
So if the car chair has been used extensively,
Yes.
we need to consider what are the safety implications of continuing to use it.
Yes.
Buying a car chair that's been involved in a collision, unfortunately, there are no tests to confirm a car chair can sustain a second collision.
Right.
So having to ensure that what car chair you are getting has never been involved in a collision is really important. If you're purchasing a second car chair, handing down kind of is going to be a little bit easier because you are doing it to somebody and saying, I'm not giving you a car chair that's been
Right.
involved in a collision.
Yes.
But wear and tear is essential, and these car chairs do have a life. At some point, depending on the manufacturers, you'll see some of them tell you after 10 years, discontinue using the car
Discontinue use of them,
Can I
right?
just pick you up on something there, Mo? So, if I'm involved in a collision, and we're not talking about a tiny bumper bashing, we're talking about crashing a car, I need to change my baby seat.
Okay, 100%. And we've done research, or there's research being done in that avenue, where it pretty much says if there is a child in the car chair and a collision in excess of 30 kilometers per hour has occurred, that car chair cannot be utilized again. Strapped in the car and you're driving at 50 kilometers per hour,
Mm.
that would change the dynamic. Remember that the child exerts forces on these car chairs.
Mm.
Our research has clearly indicated after 30, there's no guarantee that the car chair will sustain a second collision. So,
But
So
there are
the right thing to do
get
is change the seat
Yes,
straight away.
it's changed. There are affordable car seats on the market that are good quality, that have got good safety ratings, that are available to people if they are on a budget, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so you don't have to always go for the most expensive option. You don't have to go for the highest rated option. It's all about creating as much as you can in terms of safety in that vehicle, yes?
As with anything good in life, or affordability, what we can, it could be a lot more expensive.
Yes,
And then you get car chairs that do exactly the same purpose,
yes,
but indicate you without an LED light.
yes,
So you could also then go to the point where I need to do a little bit more.
yes.
So making a marketplace through reputable dealers, they will ensure that the car chair meets the NRCS homologation standards.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Good enough?
the standards, yes, and it is being pushed a lot. It's being pushed a lot.
On a budget and you're looking for something more affordable, there is something available that you can get. You don't need to get all the bells and whistles on it, but get something. Make sure your kid is safe, right, Philip?
Research, research, and research.
Right.
Then go out, shop, shop, and shop.
Mm.
Then make a real decision.
Right.
Don't just go out to the shops, pick something up because
No.
it's cheap
Yes,
or because it's the most expensive in the shop.
yes,
Make the right decision for the right reasons,
exactly.
for the safety of your child.
Right. And the cargo is valuable. It's invaluable. I mean, you can't put a price on that cargo. So you want to make sure you are protecting it at all times. I mean, we've spoken before, Mo. I mean, I'm actually getting goosebumps just thinking about, some of the things that we've spoken about in the past. Do they work? I mean, I know the answer, but, do they work?
So being involved with our clients or consumers directly in order to establish more research on these things, something that we really push. As recent as a day ago,
Yeah.
I received a call at 6 o'clock in the morning to indicate that the evening before there was a frontal collision, which was probably around 80 kilometers per hour, head-on collision, 3 adult passengers.
Before you go on, I just would like to say 80 kilometers an hour is actually pretty fast. I mean, we test the cars at 64 kilometers an hour in our Safer Cars program, and 64 kilometers an hour is the international standard for the average of what these things occur. And the damage caused at that speed is quite significant, Philip, right? So you're looking at, 80
There
kilometers
is a
is
lot
not
of damage to the car and
Yes.
to the occupants if the car is not safe enough.
Exactly. So 80 kilometers an hour is a big speed,
It's
right?
big speed, SUV, decent safety standards ratings. 3
Right.
of the occupants in the car suffered mild to moderate injuries.
Okay.
And a child passenger at 19 months old,
Wow.
correctly strapped, not a scratch.
Excellent.
We have the mum ecstatic about the fact that her child is fine, requesting from me, should she continue using a car chair?
Yes.
Because it's not sustained any damage.
Yes.
And instinctively, no, it's done, and we've got to get rid of it. We also had a collision of a rollover after 100 kilometers per hour of an SUV.
Yes.
And we had dogs in the car that were flown 15 meters out. We had
That
parents,
car rolled 7.
12.
Wow.
How that car chair works.
Yes.
You kind of feel that you've done the right thing for your kid.
Exactly.
And getting that emotion before you buy your car chair, where, oh, I've just seen a collision across the road.
Yeah.
What if I had my child in that car? And what would have happened? Once you get that, you sort of feel satisfied, you feel good about it. And believe you me, you can see the difference in change of when you'd shown him how to install a car chair first, and the next time around, the pedantic nature of ensuring that everything was done 100%
Correct.
So there are exceptionally good stories about. We've not had a problem or anybody come to us complaining to us, I should not have had my child in a child restraint.
But
So it's not unusual for people of a certain age, and I'm looking at you, Leighton,
yeah.
to say, but we didn't need this stuff when we were young,
Yes.
we were fine.
Yes.
And the simple reality is you weren't fine, you were lucky.
Yes. You were
Just
lucky.
that basic, isn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, just to your point as well, when we crash test vehicles now, people are telling us, but back in the day, we didn't need all of these safety features. Well, you did. You just didn't realize it because you were lucky. And there may have been fewer cars on the road. Unfortunately, we hear the good news stories about the people who have had their babies in these car seats. There are unfortunate stories of people who didn't. And they should also act as you know, a lesson to people who are preparing to have children or who have very young babies. Don't compromise on this. Get a car seat. We've got feel-good stories. You know, the car rolled 7 times, father went and got the baby out, everything ended well. But we know stories, and we've heard stories of car rolled twice and baby died because they weren't in a car seat. They were on the lap of the mom, or you know, they were jumping around on the back seat. It's not good enough.
I often utilize a very simple analogy. You would not drive your vehicle with a simple thing like a brick on your back windscreen.
Yes.
Because you understand that if I press my brake, that brake, that's a lot. Now consider your child starting off at 3 kilos.
Yes,
What type of forces are involved?
exactly.
And that's kind of gets to you and grips to you to say, okay, I need to get something. And then you start researching.
Yes.
And you find out, whoa, I'm actually doing the right thing here.
And it raises another interesting point. I'm not going to go into too much depth on this, but some of the technology internationally, and I know specifically in Europe, is looking at pet restraints, where people are driving with their dogs in the car, and they're putting their dogs on the back seat, and they're not restraining those pets or those animals. And to your point, in a collision, that pet also becomes a very heavy flying object, and you've got to restrain them. I'm not equating pets to children, obviously, but the point is made is that anything in the backseat needs to be anchored down, and that includes your child as well. Excellent. So thank you very much, Philip and to Mo, for both your time. I think it's been very informative. And Mo, your details are also up on the screen, and anybody can go visit those. But thank you very much for being with us today. I really appreciate your time. I want to thank Mo and Philip for being here, and I think we have really learned a lot about child restraints and the importance of those child restraints. And if you do have a baby or you have a toddler in your home, please do not compromise. Get one of these units and make sure that you and your child are safe when you're driving. Thank you, and until next time. And that's that.
Cool.
Good.
It's the camera recording. Thanks,
Morné, were
guys.
you happy with that?
I'd just like to clarify. Mo had more lines than me. I am not.
you
I
know-
am not dropping my appearance fee.